Few British military commanders have been judged as harshly as Field Marshal Douglas Haig. To generations of people, he was the butcher of the Somme, a distant general who lived comfortably behind the front, while hundreds of thousands of ordinary soldiers were sent towards machine guns, barbed wire, and almost certain death. His name has become inseparable from the bloodshed of the Somme and the mud of Passchendaele. But is that judgment fair? Was Douglas Haig an incompetent commander who failed to understand modern warfare? Or has popular memory reduced an extremely complicated war to the decisions of one man? To answer that, we first need to understand the army Haig inherited. When Britain entered the First World War in August 1914, its regular army was relatively small. It was professional and highly trained, but it had never attempted to fight a continental war on this scale. Within 2 years, Britain had transformed that small professional force into an enormous citizen army containing millions of men. Many of its soldiers had been clerks, miners, factory workers, teachers, and railwaymen only months earlier. Its commanders were being asked to control battles involving hundreds of thousands of men over front lines stretching for miles. They were also confronting weapons and conditions that no British general had ever experienced on this scale. Machine guns, heavy artillery, barbed wire, aircraft, and trench systems protected by deep underground dugouts. This does not excuse every decision made by Haig, but it does explain why there were no simple solutions available. There was no secret route around the Western Front. The German army could not simply be ignored, and while attacks elsewhere might weaken Germany's allies, the main body of the German army remained in France and Belgium. Haig believed that Germany had to be defeated on the Western Front. In strategic terms, he was probably right. The controversy concerns the methods he used to achieve it. Haig became commander of the British Expeditionary Force in December 1915. His first major campaign in overall command would be the Battle of the Somme. The offensive had originally been planned as a joint Anglo-French operation, but when Germany attacked the French fortress city of Verdun in February 1916, the French army came under enormous pressure. The British would now carry much more of the burden on the Somme. One purpose of the attack was therefore to draw German troops away from Verdun. Before the infantry advanced, British artillery bombarded the German positions for an entire week. Haig and many of his commanders believed that the bombardment would destroy the German defences, cut the barbed wire, and kill or incapacitate the soldiers inside the trenches. It did not. Many German troops survived inside deep concrete dugouts. Much of the wire remained intact, and when the bombardment stopped, German soldiers climbed back to the surface and prepared their machine guns. At 7:30 in the morning of the 1st of July 1916, British troops began advancing. By the end of that day, the British Army had suffered almost 60,000 casualties. Nearly 20,000 men were dead. It remains the bloodiest day in the history of the British Army. For Haig's critics, this is the moment that defines him. The bombardment had failed. The expected breakthrough had not occurred, yet the offensive continued for another 4.5 months. By the time it ended in November, the British Army had suffered more than 400,000 casualties. The ground gained was measured in miles, not in a decisive strategic breakthrough. Haig had badly underestimated the strength of the German defences. He had also placed too much confidence in the ability of artillery to destroy those defences completely. His expectations of a dramatic breakthrough were unrealistic, and after the opening failure, he continued to believe that one more attack might finally rupture the German line. This is where the criticism of Haig carries genuine weight. He did not deliberately seek the deaths of his soldiers, but he was prepared to accept enormous losses in pursuit of objectives that often remained beyond the capabilities of his army. Yet the Somme was not entirely without strategic effect. The offensive did help reduce pressure on the French at Verdun. The German army also suffered devastating casualties. Experienced German officers and soldiers who could not easily be replaced were killed or wounded, and the British army gained painful experience in how to organise artillery, infantry, aircraft, and new weapons across a vast battlefield. The difficulty is that this learning was purchased with human lives, hundreds of thousands of them. The following year brought an equally controversial campaign, the Third Battle of Ypres, better known as Passchendaele. Haig wanted to break through the German positions in Flanders and threatened the Belgian ports being used to support German submarines. Once again, he hoped that sustained pressure would break the enemy. Once again, the breakthrough never came. Heavy rain and artillery fire destroyed the battlefield's drainage system. The ground became a landscape of flooded shell holes and deep mud. Men, horses, and equipment struggled to move. Wounded soldiers could drown after falling from narrow duckboards. Haig continued the offensive despite worsening conditions and limited gains. Passchendaele was eventually captured, but the battle became another symbol of apparently pointless sacrifice. So why do some historians reject the image of Haig as a simple butcher? Firstly, Haig did not ignore new technology. Under his command, the British Army dramatically increased its use of artillery, aircraft, machine guns, and tanks. Methods such as creeping barrages helped protect advancing infantry. Sound ranging and flash spotting helped locate enemy artillery. Aircraft observed German positions and supported troops on the ground. Tanks were unreliable at first, but their use expanded as the war continued. The British Army of 1918 was therefore very different from the army that had attacked on the first day of the Somme. It had become a much more sophisticated force. Infantry, artillery, aircraft, and tanks increasingly worked together. This transformation cannot be credited to Haig alone. Many of the most important changes came from officers and soldiers below him, but as Commander-in-Chief, Haig allowed and encouraged many of these developments. Secondly, Haig remained calm during one of the most dangerous moments of the war. In March 1918, Germany launched a massive offensive on the Western Front. German troops broke through the British lines and advanced across ground that had not seen mobile warfare for years. For a time, it appeared that the entire Allied position might collapse. Haig responded with his famous order, "With our backs to the wall, each one of us must fight on to the end." The German offensive was eventually stopped. Its troops had advanced rapidly, but they had failed to destroy the Allied armies or capture a decisive strategic objective. Germany had exhausted many of its best soldiers in the attempt. Then came the 100 Days. Beginning in August 1918, British, French, Dominion, and American forces launched a succession of powerful attacks. At Amiens, tanks, artillery, aircraft, and infantry achieved surprise and shattered the German defences. The Allied armies continued advancing. German troops were pushed back. The Hindenburg Line was broken, and Germany requested an armistice. Haig had commanded the British Army through both of its darkest failures and its greatest victories. So, was Douglas Haig really a butcher? The word suggests a man who was indifferent to suffering, who understood nothing, and who carelessly sacrificed lives without purpose. That description is too simple. Haig faced an enemy of enormous strength in a form of industrial warfare that every major army struggled to understand. He oversaw the transformation of the British Army into one capable of defeating Germany in 1918. And he remained committed to the Western Front because that was where Germany's principal army had to be beaten. But rejecting the caricature does not absolve him. Haig repeatedly expected breakthroughs that his forces were not capable of achieving. He underestimated German defences, he placed excessive faith in artillery bombardments, and at both the Somme and Passchendaele, he continued major operations after the chance of decisive success had diminished. The casualties were not solely his responsibility, but they were not beyond his responsibility either. Douglas Haig was not a mindless butcher, nor was he an unrecognised military genius. He was a determined, deeply conventional commander who slowly adapted to a new kind of warfare, but whose education came at an appalling human cost. Perhaps the fairest verdict is this. Haig did not create the conditions of the First World War. He did not invent the machine gun, the barbed wire, or the fortified trench. And he did not possess an easy alternative that could have defeated Germany without heavy casualties. But he did not invent the machine gun, the barbed wire, or the fortified trench. and he did not possess an easy alternative that could have defeated Germany without heavy casualties. But when plans failed, he was often too slow to abandon them. The legend of the butcher is too simple. The reality is far more uncomfortable. This has been the Nelson Brief, the context behind the story.